A few weeks ago, an important collaborator of Hillary Clinton and John Podesta was arrested for pedophilia and child pornography. I'm referring to Slade Sommer, a man with ties to the world of Broadway and cinema, who played a role in the effort to debunk the infamous Pizza Gate affair. That is, the network, filthy complicity and horrendous crimes against minors that revolves around the international deep state. We have learned that certainly Jeffrey Epstein and most likely Ghislaine Maxwell were members of the Israeli Mossad. This makes us understand that the famous trips of many well-known people to Epstein Island were used to blackmail them by collecting evidence of their guilt in participating in heinous ritual crimes against minors. And if the heads of state and governance officials of the Western world do not dare to breathe out a word of protest against the massacres of civilians in Gaza Strip, it is legitimate to assume that this attitude is due to the intensive dossier with videos inculpating them that are in possession of the Israeli intelligence services. The same thing must be happening with the preparation of the fake pandemic emergency, which was lavishly replicated in all the member states of the World Economic Forum and the United Nations, and also with the farce of the Ukrainian crisis. But this blackmail of the powerful of the world constituted the unifying element of the globalist subversive project. We cannot help but think that the indispensable role played by the Catholic Church has been in some way forced not only by the appointment of Bergoglio as an emissary of the enemies of the Church, placed in the very top position, but also by the sexual and financial scandals that have only partially emerged due to the many prelates who are agents of the deep church. How can we think that a person like Theodore McCarrick, who entered the White House without the need to be announced, and who continued to represent the Vatican's diplomatic interests in China, even after he was accused of being a serial predator, did not enjoy the support of those powerful individuals who share with him the most vile vices and the most heinous crimes? Are we to think that the partnership between the deep state and the deep church was limited to complicity in financial speculation, when a pedophile like Slade Sommer collaborated with the Clintons and Barack Obama, all of whom were implicated in Pizzagate? Or that Bill Gates' numerous flights to Epstein Island, along with those of numerous actors, rulers, politicians, bankers, and VIPs, have nothing to do with the network or complicity of the Lavender Mafia. From the leaked emails in the WikiLeaks case, we know that John Podesta was working on behalf of Hillary Clinton and Obama, the globalist elite in general, to promote a color revolution within the church that was supposed to oust Benedict XVI from the papacy, elect an ultra-progressive pope, has substantially modified the Catholic magisterium by making it accept the demands of the Agenda 2030. So, gender equality, the introduction of the gender ideology and the LGBTQ plus doctrine, the democratization of the church government, collaboration in the new Malthusian project of the Great Reset, cooperation of immigration and cancel culture. It seems clear to me that this subversive project has found perfect realization in the appointment of Bergoglio. As I use the word appointment deliberately, and that is confirmed by his consistent pattern of act of governments and magisterial teaching, both public and private, over the course of this most inauspicious decade. An action that has in fact carried out the wishes, the desiderata, or rather the mandates, the mandata, of the orders of the elite, point by point, in such a precise way as to be unequivocal. Gender equality with the opening of roles in ecclesiastical government and ministry to women, the moral legitimization of sodomy and gender ideology, with the admission of the sodomized and transsexual to the role of godparents and being witnesses at weddings, fake democratization, following the model of oligarchies in the civil sphere through synodality, the acceptance of the pseudo-environmentalist demands, the drastic downsizing of the condemnation of abortion, euthanasia, the genetic manipulation, to the subversion of the Pontifical Academy for Life, the campaign to welcome illegal immigrants in the name of an inevitability of the mixing of races that is not free from economic interest, cancel culture with its denigration of the history of the Church and the falsification of the Holy Scriptures. And indeed, on closer inspection, it is always the promise of an economic quid pro quo that binds the member of the deep church with the agents of the deep state. The elite has paid them the pretium sanguinis of their betrayal with sponsorships and funding. I wonder if Bergoglio's grotesque attempt to reevaluate Judas the Iscariot do not betray the instinctive sympathy of a traitor for Iscariot, Mercator Pessimus. So let us go back to the pretium sanguinis, the payment of services rendered by people who have been blackmailed not only by those who know the most disconcerting and obscure secret about them, but also by those who agree with them while holding similar roles in other nations, in the European Parliament, the UN, the World Bank, or in other international institutions. Imagine if Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau dared to consider dissociating himself from certain issues. For example, the silence about Netanyahu's war crimes in Gaza, that disobeying the orders given to him. Even before the news reached the media, it would be his counterparts in Great Britain, Australia, New Zealand and United States, France, Holland, Belgium, and God knows where else, who would put pressure on him to keep quiet, knowing full well that the Mossad would not hesitate for a moment to drag into a scandal and jail not only Trudeau, on whom charges for rape of a minor are pending for now held up in some prosecutor's office, but also those members of the international pedophiles elite were evident of other crimes committed by the same Justin Trudeau. For this reason, it was necessary for corruption to become endemic to the system, so that the globalist cancer could be etched into it. And it would be foolish or irresponsible to believe that the Bergoglian hierarchy is exempt from this blackmail. We know rather that Bergoglian hierarchy is largely involved in the same vices, with the protection of Bergoglio himself. On the other hand, what credibility can the Argentine Jesuit claim to have when in the case of Megaris he personally decided as res judicata the conviction without trials of one of the most powerful cardinals in the last 50 years, avoiding the examination of witnesses who could have given the names of his accomplices, who are now promoted to the highest level of the church or public institutions? Do you think, if it were possible to perpetrate electoral fraud with impunity in order to oust President Donald Trump from the White House, that they failed to do the same thing at the 2013 conclave, taking into account how compromised the majority of the College of Cardinals is? The fact that the fraud is public and still unpunished is, if anything, an aggravating circumstance stemming from the arrogance of believing one's omnipotence and invincible.